Because there's the energy here.
Yeah.
So many people.
I mean, look at this, man. And my job as a dad is for you to do a little bit better than me. Guys, testosterone is so good these days. See that guy? He's like 70s, ripped.
Your resume is insane. You read through it, it's like Army Ranger, West Point, FBI, Crisis Management, FBI.
Let's go down. This is my street where I grew up. So my cousins and I, we ruled this block. We ruled this block as 13, 14, 15-year-olds. The transition has been powerful for me, and it happened literally overnight. Kind of knowing that my marriage is coming to an end. I was a member of a fantastic golf course here in New Jersey. My game was getting better. People were looking at me saying, you got it all, man. And I would wake up every morning and the first thought on my mind would be, my life sucks. Tell me about what's going on with you, man. You don't seem right. So he says, hey, have you ever thought in any way about God? He looks directly at me and he walks towards me. He ignores everybody else. He wraps his arms around me and he says, I knew you'd be here.
Do you see another perspective when you look back on it, when certain events happen, let's say?
With Civil War narrative all over the place, an election year upon us, extremely dangerous overseas wars that could spill over, absolute mayhem at the border, and just a continuing divide in our nation and world, I met with former FBI Special Agent Jim DiOrio to shed a light of hope. Jim is one of the most famous, if not the most famous, FBI agent on the internet for his stories being there on 9/11 to interrogating some of the most evil people on the planet to leading special operations missions. He recently has had a dramatic shift in his life, and I had the privilege of being the first person to capture this exciting announcement. So if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe, and enjoy the conversation.
I'm curious, how come you didn't want to become a fireman? Or did you? Was that?
Well, always service. You know, always
really.
something service-oriented.
Yeah.
My dad kind of, I won't say he talked us out of it. He didn't talk us out of firemen or police work.
Yeah.
He kind of just was like, hey, your job and my job as a dad is for you to do a little bit better than me. Not a lot, not crazy.
Interesting.
But a little bit more. So he always pushed, hey, you know, service, yeah, loved it. And, but, you know, let's do, you're more capable, you're better.
Really?
So, yeah, that's the way he would be. So when I had this opportunity, you know, after high school to go to West Point, it was kind of like, my dad was just like, wow, you know, and he,
of course,
I can remember him saying that his parents, you know, I think they were probably second generation.
Okay.
But you know, definitely, I think my grandfather had some time living. I think my grandmother had some time living in the old country.
Yeah.
And they were so impressed with West Point. They were kind of like, and my mother said, yeah, my parents thought it was for rich people. They didn't understand the process.
Yeah.
That it was service oriented.
Well, even today, if you get into West Point, it's
amazing.
So much respect goes to
it's
anyone
amazing.
who does.
And it's an accomplishment, you know, to get there, and not only just to get there, but to thrive there. Guys, testosterone is so good these days. See that guy? He's like 70s, ripped.
No.
Yeah. Don't put the pellets in your ass, trust me. Yeah, I think that was for them.
Yeah.
It was an experience for my parents too, to kind of take the ride, right?
Yeah.
So we were together all the time up there. They loved it. They met good friends.
Yeah.
And they lived that life, right? So they kind of loved it. It fit into my dad's service base.
Yeah.
Fit into my mother was a hospital. She did word processing in St. Barnabas Hospital. So my brother went in the Army.
He did.
He did great. He retired as a lieutenant colonel, as a dentist. My brother-in-law was a trooper, Jersey trooper. So it was really in our family.
I was gonna say, it's in your blood to be a service.
It definitely is, you know? So how we went about that was up to us.
Yeah.
My dad wasn't like, yeah, you're gonna be this, or you're gonna be that. How we went about it was up to us. So, you know, kind of my experience at West Point was wonderful.
Yeah.
Mostly about the camaraderie and the friendships, and the ability to have actual brothers that are side by side with you through ups and downs.
Yeah,
and I've had a run, man. So ups and downs. You know, I've had some downs, and these guys were standing right there, you know, all the time.
That's amazing.
Shoulder to shoulder. So that's what it's given me, and that's why I continue now to really want to give back, to really want to do my part, pay it forward. Service-based, yes.
Yeah.
You know, got to make money, right? So entrepreneurial, yes.
Yeah.
But finding my path has been an incredible road.
That's crazy to say
incredible
that
trial.
from you because your resume is insane.
Oh, thanks,
Like,
man.
it's like you read through it, and it's like Army Ranger, West Point, FBI, crisis management, FBI, to now it's like,
yeah.
You can write books on each of those stages of your life, which is so crazy.
And that stuff is meaningless to me now. Isn't that crazy?
That's the part I was gonna say.
That's not where I come in. That's not where I don't define my purpose by any of that. Now, I used to, because I definitely had an issue with self-confidence and self-respect. So I'd always be like, well, I got to say up front what I did and who I am and who I know. And I realized that's not the purpose. You know, it's helping people, continuing to serve to help them find their purpose.
Wow.
However you can do that, right? Mine happens to be, as we talked about, and you've had a similar experience, is the transformation, right?
Yeah.
The Christian transformation.
Yeah,
so,
your faith.
Yeah. So, I mean, I grew up a guilt-ridden Catholic. Right, so
same here.
You know the deal.
Same club.
You know the deal. So, like, hey, if I didn't make church today, you know, he's watching. You know, I'm in trouble. I better get on that rosary bead and hit it. You know,
go do confessions.
Yeah, I ate meat on Friday. One time I ate a Western Whopper on Good Friday. Just forgot. I thought my mother was gonna have a stroke. Hey, I thought my mother was gonna have a stroke. An absolute stroke, you know, so finally I'm like, Mom, I just forgot, you know, but actually I think I knew, I just did it anyway. And
like, I can't do this, too many rules.
So, you know, I looked at that, and then kind of the transition has been powerful for me, and it happened literally overnight. So
can you go through that with me? I'd love to hear it.
So it's the fall, picture back, fall of 22. It's
so 2 years ago, right now.
2 years ago, yep. And I'm kind of knowing that my marriage is coming to an end pretty quickly. Yeah. And I'm not sure exactly what the future looks like. Yeah. And I can remember just waking up every single morning, and the first thought in my mind, now listen, I lived in this, not mine, but this beautiful house in a crazy good town. I was a member of a fantastic golf course here in New Jersey. Yeah. My game was getting better. People were looking at me saying, you got it all, man. You know, you got it all. Wow. And I would wake up every morning and the first thought on my mind would be, my life sucks. Seriously? Every morning. I was away from my kids, the opportunity cost that kind of given my children up while I tried to raise somebody else's children who didn't want it. You know, kind of like frustrating. So, of course. Anyway, comes to end of October, I get a phone call from my buddy Eric Whipple, who, one of my dear friends from West Point, goes way back. And he says his wife Lori had suffered 6 years with cancer. He says, Jimmy, I'm gonna put Lori in hospice tomorrow. And I was like, oh, cow, you know? Yeah. Whoa, okay. All right, Eric, I'll be praying. Now, you know, think of my prayer methods then compared to what they are now. I chuckle, right? Yeah, of course. I'm gonna pray. I don't even think that you just say that. Thoughts and prayers, right? You see Facebook, thoughts and prayers. Well, anyone who's not even like Christian or anything will always be like, I'm sending prayers. Sending prayers, they don't know what it is. Yeah, right? Exactly. Which is fine. Yeah. So anyway, my wife at the time says, hey, you realize that you have to make that ceremony, that wake. Yeah. And I just thought to myself, first off, I thought to myself, and I'm like, nah, no chance. You know, it's in Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm in Rumson, New Jersey. Like, you know, what am I going to do? Like, you got to be kidding me.
College World Series?
I did check flights, right. I did check flights. I'm like, you know, oh my God, there's 6, you got to get off 6 different times and back on. Yeah. I'm not expensive, you know, the whole deal. So, one of my other buddies, Stan Olsen, lived in Chicago, another West Point guy, and really the reason for my transformation, I mean, God's the reason, but he's certainly the one that brought it to me. He calls and says, do you have details on the ceremony and stuff? I said, yeah, I do. I said, it's this Friday is the wake in Lincoln, Saturday's celebration of life in Lincoln. Hey, let me know, please give them my best. Like, tell them I was asking for. He goes, tell me you were asking, what are you talking about? I said, tell them I was asking for. He says, no, you tell them. You're gonna be there. I go, nah, man, I can't make it. I got, you know, make up some bullshit. I got this, I got that. I got my marriage talk, you know. So, by the way, we're going through Belmar here. So this is Belmar. You'll see, wow, beautiful houses, transformation, good little Italian restaurant right here. Awesome. The beaches are gorgeous, big. You know, a little different than Avon, a little bigger. Okay. A little bit more popular with the North Jersey crowd over there. Oh yeah. You know what I mean? I like to go to the beach over there, you know, that kind of thing. So I don't like that, but I probably was that at one point in my life. So anyway, and I'm going to point out the street that I grew up on. So we're coming up. But anyway, so Stan says, yeah, you know, I don't care how you do it, but your ass needs to be in Chicago on Wednesday. So this is a Monday.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I hang up. I'm like, that motherfucker, he's got some balls, you know, telling me what I got to do. My life sucks, man, you know. So anyway, for some reason, I pack up.
Yeah.
And on Tuesday, I hop in the car and I make my trek to Chicago.
You do?
Yeah, and I make it to Chicago. I stop in Johnstown, PA to see my buddy Shane, and I make the rest of the way on Wednesday to Chicago.
Wow.
We get there and we have a great night. We play golf the next day on Thursday. He says, hey, we're leaving at 5 a.m. on Friday morning. We're driving. I'm driving. You drove out here, I'll drive there. Okay, Stan.
Yeah.
So I hop in the car, we put our stuff in there, whatever it was, and we start driving, you know, stop and get coffee. We stopped at Buc-ee's because I always want to see a Buc-ee's and all this kind of shit, right? So he says, hey man, tell me about what's going on with you, man. You don't seem right.
Oh, so you picked up on it.
Yeah, so I start laying everything out. Well,
yeah.
I got this, my marriage sucks, this sucks, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I run through everything. My money's down, I don't really have my own money, I don't see my kids enough, blah, 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 my health is bad.
Yeah.
So he says, hey, have you ever thought in any way about God?
Whoa.
I said, dude, yeah, I mean, I do the rosary once in a while. I give something up sometimes I'll jump off Facebook even for a week, you know, during Lent.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'm talking about, you know, I'm not cutting down your childhood and how you were raised, but dude, I'm talking about Bible, God, the Word, fellowship, real prayer. Now I said, Stan, fuck that shit. You know me, this is DiOrio. I don't have any of that in me, right? Plus, there's nothing after. You know, I tell him. Yeah. He goes, really, you willing to roll the dice on that? Huh? I said, absolutely, man. So, as a matter of fact, and I'm compressing the conversation. This went on for 6 or 7 hours. And I just finally tell him, Stan, do me a favor. He says, yeah. I said, just shut the fuck up. I don't want to talk about it anymore. There's nothing to it, period. And I just don't want any part of it, so stop. But Stan, he ain't letting it go that easy. So he keeps talking. Well, here's been my experiences. Here's what it's done for me. But I listened politely. But then at the end of it, I would just say, dude, thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah.
So finally, we kind of by the time we get to Lincoln, we got about an hour before we got to get changed and jump to the church. So we check into our hotel. I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm gonna get my own room, dude. I'm just gonna fly away. I'm gonna fly back tomorrow. How was that bad? I'm like, I don't want to hear this anymore. So he said, listen, I've heard all your issues. I've heard what's going on in your life. And he gives me that patented line. He goes, sounds like it's working out really well for you, the way things are going.
That must have made you feel good.
And I said to him, fuck you. And I walked in the room in silence. We put on our clothes. Yeah. We went over to this small church in Lincoln, Nebraska. Yeah. And walk in, and it's a pretty cool church. It's like a Bible church, traditionally non-traditional, right? Yeah, so almost looks like a school, but it's nice. So we walk in, we get in the church, and there's just like a shitload of glass in front of us and curtains covering it, which the woman says, look, that's where the wake's gonna be. You guys got about 10 minutes, just sign in for me. And, you know, we're going, maybe 150, 200 people here, right?
Wow.
I'm looking around, I'm pissed though. I'm looking at the ground. Probably with 5 minutes to go, 5 minutes to 5 before it opens, the door opens. Yeah. And my buddy, Eric Whipple, looks out and he scans the room. He doesn't look at anybody else. He looks directly at me. And he walks towards me. He ignores everybody else. He wraps his arms around me and he says, simply, I knew you'd be here. Wow. And something just changed in my body. I felt a rush. I felt like the Holy Spirit had entered my body at that point. Wow. And I was like blown away. So he started crying a little bit. I did. I'm so sorry, Eric. You know, he said, come on in. So we all walk in there, pay our respects, see his family, talk to them, see his beautiful daughter. Yeah. Talking about them. And they're like, as sad as they are, they're upbeat. And I'm like, what's going on here? You know, it's kind of weird. We go out that night, there's like 30 of us showed up.
Am I missing something?
Yeah, 30 classmates from West Point showed up to Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh my God.
I would have missed it, right? I never knew these guys came to shit and gave a shit about anybody.
Wow, 30?
30, with their spouses. One guy from Europe.
Oh my gosh.
Another dude from overseas, somewhere else. Yeah. So anyway, we talked that night about Lori, her suffering, what she went through, how faithful she was. Yeah. And I'm listening, but I'm inspired, you know? So on the ride back to our hotel, I said, Stan, damn, man. You know, he's like, yeah, man, you know, you never know, right? I'm like, I never know. Next day we go to this ceremony, and it's the celebration of life for Lori.
Yeah.
Sit down with all my West Point buddies. We're in one section like usual. We're all kind of just doing our own thing because we're a bunch of just, you know, grouchy, crazy, low self-esteem men, you know? And we sit there, and Eric gets up and eulogizes his wife.
Yeah.
And he goes for 45 minutes, and I've never heard anything like it.
Wow.
His happiness, his faith, her faith. And Stan leans over to me and simply says one thing. He says, "See that right there?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "That's what I want for you. That's the peace I want for you."
Wow.
And I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Now I'm listening, I'm alert. And the thing that, his eulogy is beautiful, and I'm gonna post it at some point with his permission.
Yeah.
But the part of it that was incredible, he puts up Lori's prayer journal, so her entries daily.
Whoa.
And I'm reading through them, but the one that got to me was the one that was probably her last entry before she slipped off. And all it says is, "Thank you, God, for always showing up."
Whoa.
And I'm like, wait a minute. You're dying of cancer.
Yeah.
You're in pain. 6 years. You weren't sure what it was going to look like. Numerous treatments, radiation, and still didn't survive. And you're telling God, thank you for showing up. And I just spent the last 10 years of my life saying, God's never around, no faithfulness. He doesn't give a shit. And here's this woman proving to me in that minute, well, the ride home obviously was, how do I do this?
Yeah.
What do I do? And I get home to my house, and I tell my now ex, but at the time still unhappily married, I tell her, hey, my life has changed. She said, well, it's good. I'm happy for you. But, you know, you still owe me this for this, and you still owe me this for this, and, you know, you never treat anybody. So I'm like, hey, listen, I am changed. Like, I appreciate all that, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm changed. And I found the strength with that to walk out of the house.
Wow.
And not to beg my way back in, right?
Yeah.
I just walked out. No, I'm good. When we came to divorce settlements, she was giving me all these fight back. I said, I'm good. I don't want anything.
Wow.
I've got everything I need. I've got the gift. The gift is I'm going to be with Jesus Christ and with God at the end of this. And I walked out. And that was January of 2023. And my life has been a testament to that.
Holy.
To that.
So
every minute of it.
Let me just stop you right there real quick. So how long is the span of? So you go to the funeral service, and then you have this conversation with your now ex-wife.
A week.
It's a week.
Yeah,
wow.
within that week.
It just hit you like that, like lightning in a bottle.
Went through Christmas, went through my 59th birthday, you know, played the game. Oh, my kids came up, I set this up, went to dinner with them.
Yeah.
And I was like, just no feeling, just shallow.
Wow.
I said all the right things, did all the right things, but I knew it was over, and I was happy.
Yeah.
I was at peace with it.
Yeah.
So then for me, the next 9 months, we're just healing, you know?
Oh my
gosh. Right where we're walking now, man.
Yeah.
Walking these boards.
Yeah.
Praying to God. Being the person that I am today, but showing it to myself that I could do it.
Yeah.
I swore off of anything. I swore off of dating. I swore off of drinking. I swore off of eating terribly. You know, just being me. Writing a lot, which you're going to see a lot of that stuff coming out in my Everyday Spy email, my email newsletter, talking about my travel with God, you know?
Whoa.
And I'm hoping that people find their purpose like I have, which is simply put, just helping people.
Yeah.
That's it, just guiding people, leading people down the path of what I know, God's army, you know? So,
do you feel like you have more, I guess, empathy for those who are very like hardened?
Absolutely.
Who don't see it that way and are just like, they had the mentality you had where like, stop it, this is dumb, this is stupid.
100%.
And like, do you feel like it has to take an extreme change like your situation?
No.
No, okay.
I don't. I mean, a guy like me, you got to hit me over the head by a 2x4 to get me to listen to anything. nonetheless transform my life, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that doesn't take people, some people don't need that much of a, they just need a little bit. For instance, we were in New York City this past weekend on Saturday giving talks. Andy Bustamante's company, Everyday Spy, and I, and a bunch of us, and we gave these talks to a group, and I could see when I gave my talk, and I talked a little bit about 9/11, my experience there, and how God showed up there for me, and I just didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful because I could see in these people's eyes, like, I want to be part of that.
Wow.
That's what I want. So for me, that was huge, and it was huge across the board, you know? So as we kind of have progressed through that, I've realized that everyone needs a different level of you know, kind of care and a different level of motivation.
Yeah.
But they have to have a purpose, you know, and it's everywhere, man. It's people that need purpose are absolutely everywhere. But I've kind of lived, this life is peaceful. This life is beautiful. I mean, there's nothing that could, even the things that used to set me off 2 years ago happen all the time still. It's not like they stop happening.
Of course, it's a work in progress.
Yeah, but it's kind of like,
Yeah.
it's not that important. Things that I used to love to do.
Yeah.
Like love to do, practice golf and, you know, do this and watch these shows. And, you know, talk about this and eat here. That shit's gone away.
Really?
There's no desire for it.
Holy
I still haven't found my church. That's one thing that I'm still working on, work in progress. I've been to a few, nothing's really rung a bell with me, but like my buddy Stan says, and my buddy Lonnie and Jason, they're like, dude, that's God. He's just working you. He wants you to find the right fit, and you'll know it when you find it, but I haven't yet. So, hey, it's coming.
How does that impact, I know it is, how does that impact you now when you look back at like your entire career? Like in the FBI, being an Army Ranger, all that, like, do you see another like perspective when you look back on it, when certain events happen, let's say when you're maybe in the interrogation room and you're doing interrogations to being out there and doing field work? Do you now like look back with the sense of like, oh my gosh, he was working there, or oh wow, like I would have not been able to do without this? Like, how do you see it now?
Yeah, the God winks are everywhere, man, no matter where you are and what you're doing. And I think from my standpoint, I could look back on every portion of my life and see that and find it.
Wow.
You know, and I see like what the value, what was value to me then or at any time in my career in my life is no longer value to me. You know, it's more about the purpose. It's more about helping someone get through their worst days or their worst nights, and truly listening. No longer being the guy that's thinking about, well, I want to go ahead and say the next thing. Because I've got a much better, funnier, more valuable story than that guy does.
Totally,
No more. Let's go down. This is my street where I grew up.
Wow.
Let's walk down the street real quick.
So this is still Belmar?
Belmar, yeah.
This is all Belmar. 14th Avenue?
14th.
Wow.
This here used to be Belmar Playland, where all these 5 houses are. Belmar Playland. It was an arcade with kiddie rides in the back and a golf course on top, little mini golf course on top.
Oh my God, why'd they get rid of that? That sounds awesome.
Well, he got a good number for it. So we used to, my cousins and I, we ruled this block. We ruled this block as 13, 14, 15-year-olds. Kick anybody's ass, we'll still kick your ass.
We'll find the golf up there.
So these apartments are still here. Exactly what they looked like in 1969.
Holy crap.
No different, probably the same people living there. This was the playland all along here. For the first, you could see the big houses. The playland went all the way to the last big house, right?
Was there much of like, because I feel like at that time it could be different, because now where it's like, we're like in terms of status, like wealth, did you feel that with the kids you played with? Like,
no.
Or there was nothing of that?
No, all blue collar. The only guy we thought had money, and he did, and we found out later, lived right here at 102. So that was Vinny Verderamo. He's still living. He was an attorney in Jersey City. Matter of fact, he was Joe Namath's agent. So that's where he made his money. But these were small houses. You'll see bungalows. All these here with a run. 102, 104, 106, 108.
They're all 3-story.
Yeah, not anymore. I mean, they weren't at the time. Here's what they look like. Not even this one. The next 2 after this.
Oh, wow.
That's what they looked like.
So this is like what? This is from like the last 20 years, and that's
how are you?
60 or what would you say?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my God.
This is what they looked like that. That's what my
incredible.
Looked like. And it was right here. There's 110, there's 108. So if you look, that was, he was an attorney too. Frank and Peggy. Can't remember their last name, but we were here. My Aunt Annette was here in the yellow, but again, it was, down to that level. And then Rose Ganucci was there, and in the back of this house used to be a second house where my Aunt Mildred lived. So my dad's 2 sisters and his brother-in-laws lived here. And that was the Verderamos on the side.
So you guys literally like ran the street?
We ran the street. So every morning we had our we'd work out in the middle in this driveway.
No way.
Everybody was good. We were all good football players. My cousins, the Manganella boys, were all staters at West Orange Mountain High School. my team won the state championship. We were number 1 in the state in 1981.
No way.
Yep, amazing. So yeah, we ran it here. We all worked within walking distance. You know, so hey, there was an open lot right here. This was all kiddie rides back here.
Really?
So yeah, these houses weren't even here. It was Belmar Playland. I remember I used to walk up. My German grandmother loved butterscotch sundaes. So we'd walk up here and I'd buy her. She'd say, hey, you run, I'll pay for it. So I'd run up. It was a sundae like this for a quarter. Sometimes I paid, sometimes I didn't. I just took it and ran. But they knew where to get me. But yeah, we used to walk through here to go to work. There's a pizzeria, Mike's Pizzeria up here. It was fabulous. Just was like peaceful, good. It was good times. Just good feel and time.
Yeah.
First bone I ever broke was in, those were brand new apartments across the way.
Yeah.
They were being built and we were effing around as usual. And I fell and I flipped and my wrist hit a cinder block and shattered.
Oh my gosh.
And then we were like, we can't tell my dad or mom. but my wrist was like this, so I'm like, I think I have to.
I don't have a choice.
The bone's sticking out. So that was like a shitty, but that was in like, we had come down for a weekend in March, so I still had 3 months to recover before the summer season started.
Yeah, but I think about this and how you live here now. This is a completely different way of life. Completely. It feels like.
I said, I want to swing, and he said, well, this one here I usually use. Just meaning like, hey, get next to me, there's plenty.
Yeah.
If I kick this ass. That's the problem with today's youth. The kid didn't move.
Wed weekend kickoff.
Yes, and yes it is. A small house there is 3.5. And I was constantly struggling as to what I was good at. You know that, you heard me on the show. On any show I went on, I'd always be like, well, you know,